thank you for the honor. It's wonderful to be part of this discussion with all these energetic ladies and gentlemen. I think there's always been a young person in my heart who has refused to die or to give up being young. Eh? So I find it very exciting and I find it very inspiring just to get back and to be in touch with you, ladies and gentlemen. So what I've decided to do is share with you thoughts on being an impactful leader, being a leader who is full of impact. Because I think that the ideas or the concerns or the interests that this whole discussion, that this whole conversation revolves around kind of get addressed by some of the thoughts that I would like to share with you. So if you look at the first slide, an impactful leader, I think the best that we can do for our world, the best that you and I can do for our world, for our communities, for, wherever space that we are placed, where we have opportunity to make an impact. I know a lot of people talk about making a difference. A lot of people talk about being transformative. So that's what I'm referring to by being a leader that is full of impact. So if you look at my sort of definition or description of leadership is a process whereby an individual influences others to jointly pursue and implement a shared vision, mission, and preset meaningful goals within given contexts. So right from the offset, if we are going to be full of impact, if we are going to be people who will make a difference, a positive difference, a progressive difference, wherever we are, whether it's in college or it's a business that you're running as an entrepreneur, or you're employed by someone else, or you are not yet employed and you're just seeking to impact your community positively and progressively. That's what leadership is about, be a leader, and what does it mean to be a leader? Someone who engages, or someone who triggers, who fosters, who promotes a process and guides a process. You kind of generate traction, you generate traction and put into motion a process whereby as an individual, you influence others and you're influencing others to pursue a shared vision and mission that has preset meaningful goals, and it's within a given context. And those three facets of it, yourself as the person who's generating traction in the momentum, giving direction and influencing, those that are responding to you and are coming on board, or those that are getting caught up in your energy field. It's like an energy field that you're generating, and you're wanting to influence, those that come into your space or those that you come into contact with towards the achievement of meaningful or a powerful vision and mission, for themselves personally and for yourselves together and for your community, with meaningful goals in that context. So that's what that's what leadership is all about. It's a process with a leader, people that you are influencing towards meaningful goals within a context. Now, let's look at the next slide. I think that wherever you are, if you are going to be impactful, it is important for you to grasp this principle. I call it the mind willpower principle. It's a principle that I have learned over the past 16, 20 years. I call it the mind willpower principle. Now, learn to be a mind willpower practitioner. Now, what that has to do is, first of all, be aware that your willpower is located at the front of the sausage-shaped segment of your brain that thinks and analyzes. Of course, your brain has the cortex, right? The huge part of our brain is the cortex, all right? And it's at the frontal cortex. Now, somewhere in our brain is a sausage-shaped segment, a sausage-shaped area that is referred to as the callosum. It's referred to the corpus callosum. It's shaped like a sausage. And that is the part of our brain that thinks and analyzes. And at the front of that little part of our brain, the corpus callosum, which is shaped like a sausage, at its front, you see, that is where our willpower is located. Neurosurgeons, neurologists have actually identified where our willpower is located, in that part of our brain which thinks and analyzes, which is called the corpus callosum. So your mind, which analyzes and thinks, and your willpower is located in that corpus callosum. Then your mind power is located in this segment of your brain, which is directly under your control. Now, though God is able to, he has chosen not to violate your mind willpower. That is why in the Garden of Eden, when Eve and Adam were tempted to disobey against God, their creator, they were not forced. They exercised their mind willpower to cooperate with Satan. God is able to violate your willpower, my willpower, and yet he has designed it so that he does not violate it. God is able to violate our willpower. He has chosen not to. Satan, on the other hand, would be more than willing to violate our willpower, and yet he is unable to. Now, those 2 points are quite important for us if we're going to be impactful leaders, because part of the reason why we blame other people for stuff that we should assume responsibility for, or we blame the system, or we blame the environment, or we just throw up our hands in the air and declare ourselves to have been so disadvantaged that we could not have done anything about it. Part of the reason why we cop out, I call them cop outs, you see, either blaming other people for our failures, blaming other people for not being where we are supposed to be, or blaming situations, or blaming systems. I refer to them as cop outs, and those coping out. And those cop outs really result from the fact that we have not quite understood how powerful we are. We have not quite understood that God created us with this mind willpower, which is located in the corpus callosum, segment of our brain. And though God is able to violate it, he has chosen not to violate it. That's why he created us in his image, so that we would love him back and relate with him as co-creators almost, as people who are co-creators with God. So the mind willpower, God is able to violate it, yet he has chosen not to. Satan, on the other hand, would very much love to violate our mind willpower, yet he is unable to. That's why you find in James chapter 4, verse 7 in the scriptures, it says, submit yourselves under the mighty hand of God, resist the devil and he will flee. So every human being has the capacity to resist the devil, and the devil must flee. You will also read in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 9, resist the devil, because we have this mind willpower that we can exercise and resist negative influence, resist negative ideas that are thrown at us that would eventually result in us throwing away our futures, throwing away our careers. I mean, if you really look at it, this whole question, for example, let's talk about the drug abuse scenario, with the alcohol and drug abuse scenario that everyone is talking about in Zimbabwe today, especially Mutoriro, Guka, Dombo, crystal meth. When you really look at it, everyone who eventually falls prey becomes a victim of Guka, Dombo, Mutoriro, of crystal meth. The way they enter into that vortex, the way they enter into that vicious trap is through them exercising their mind willpower. You see, either they want to please friends, or they want to look cool, they want to look hip, they want to look bad, they want to look wicked, among their friends. So it's really something that an individual exercises their mind willpower and chooses to enter into that space and repeatedly makes choices that really are stupid and silly, choices that are regrettable. But if this person had understood that with their mind willpower, they have the capacity to say yes, they have the capacity to say no, and they have the capacity to be selective, selective with all kinds of friends. With these friends, I will go this far with this activity. With these friends, I will go this far with this activity. So that peer pressure becomes a very normal. You see, peer pressure is normal. It is a normal dynamic when you are at a certain age. And yet, when you understand you have mind willpower, you see that God has chosen not to violate, and which Satan cannot violate, is unable to violate. You have so much power with your mind willpower, you can select to what extent you will interface and cooperate with friends. And then you set your boundaries and you say to yourself, because this habit, this practice has the potential to destroy my future. This practice has the potential to rob me of the time to focus and to give attention to those activities in my life that add real value. Then you exercise your mind willpower. I mean, of course, I can talk like this because at one stage in my, in my youthfulness, I got addicted to marijuana big time. I got addicted to marijuana big time. And I got addicted to certain intoxicating concoctions that we drank at that time, big time, purple haze, for us, it was methylated spirit, purple haze, or it was benzene, so I got hooked into that kind of stuff until someone helped me understand. I mean, in my case, it was coming to know Jesus Christ as Savior and Lord, and then adopting him as my role model and beginning, to live my lifestyle, the Jesus way. But that's when I discovered I have this mind willpower that I can exercise. God will not violate it. He has chosen not to, though he can. And it's in exceptional cases where God chooses to violate our willpower, to override it. It's in exceptional cases. And yet, regularly, in terms of, the sort of normatively, God has chosen not to violate our willpower. Satan would want to violate it, yet he has no capacity to violate it. So though Satan would want to, he's unable to violate your mind willpower. Therefore, personal life and business successes or failures ultimately result from our choices and our decisions. So, I mean, like most motivators say, your life, what our lives become, is the sum total of the choices and decisions that we make in our lives. Our lives, our success, our failures, ultimately the sum total of the decisions and the choices that we make. Why is that so? Why is that so? That is so because you and I, we were created with a mind willpower that is so powerful, you know, that is so powerful, Satan cannot violate it. And God has chosen not to violate it, except in exceptional cases where he has chosen to override, you know, and supersede our willpower. All right, let's move on to the next slide.